And I'm Melissa Nussbaum-Freeman, and I am JVP Arts, Culture, and Ritual National Organizer. And I'm also the JVP staff facilitator for the JVP Havaran Network. And if you'd like to know more about that, you can email me, melissa@jvp.org. My pronouns are she and her, and for visual access, I'm an olive-tone Ashkenazi Sephardic queer woman. I have long brown curly hair. I'm wearing black rimmed glasses. I'm wearing a black and red keffiyeh, and behind me are lots of different colored textured scarves. I would like to give thanks to the land that we are on. And I think we're all here calling in from what we know as the United States, or otherwise known as Turtle Island. I am settled on Wampanoag land, presently known as Milton, Massachusetts. And for those of us who are guests on Turtle Island, I also invite you to give thanks to this land and to put in the chat the name of the people who were the stewards of this land and still are the stewards of this land, of that land. So if you don't know who those Native people are, there is an app that you can go to, and I'm going to ask Emily to put that in the chat for me. I know she knows it. And we light the candles tonight with hope and prayer and work so that our actions are for the sake of reparations and justice here as well as in Palestine. And love for each other, and to make the world we wish to live in. And with that, I want to present Ali Ross, who is going to light the Hanukkah candles. And this is such a special night because it is Rosh Chodesh, the new moon. It is also the festival of daughters, and it's the seventh night. So take it away, Ali. Ali is an artivist, an educator committed to working across discipline towards racial, gender, and environmental justice. She uses dance and theater as modes to catalyze and deepen these conversations in and around Boston.
Thanks, Melissa. Hi, everyone. Good evening. If you have candles, please feel free to light with me. And I'm going to be chanting a prayer that has grown very close to my heart, that I actually received from Melissa, and I've been kind of working with it melodically for the last year. So I'll just speak it in English first, so you hear what the Hebrew is. We bless the source of life who makes sacred these flames for justice, and our capacity to practice the world we vision into being. Nevarech Edein Chaim Lehadlik ner Shel tzedek, tzedek, tzedek Gonna work with this beeswax, make sure they're all lit. Thanks.
Mhm. Thank you, Ali. Our first performance tonight is Sara Abou Rasheed. It's such a pleasure to invite her back. Sara is a Palestinian poet, storyteller, and public speaker. Her writings appear in over 10 publications, including High School Language Arts Curriculum by McGraw-Hill. She has given a TEDx talk and been nominated for a Pushcart Prize. Sara also wrote and starred in her debut one-woman show, A Map of Myself, which is on immigration and finding home. Sara recently moved from Columbus, Ohio, where her family lives, to Ann Arbor, Michigan for her MFA in creative writing. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you everyone who's making tonight possible. And thank you, Ali, for this wonderful prayer. Tonight, I wanted to open with my Hanukkah poem that I wrote last year and still revisit quite often. It's titled, Resolutions Never Get to the Point. Whereas we share a father, whereas you're the oldest of his sons and we're the youngest, guardians of holy lineage, whereas you were chosen to shine and we were guided to the light, whereas we share a land despite a time difference, whereas if it were a toy, a mother would say, take turns, whereas it isn't, whereas involving God constitutes a conflict of interest, whereas exile taints both of our last names, whereas the ultimate return is to a mother's womb, whereas an Independence Day for some is a massacre for others, whereas my mother is part mine and part yours, a transgression of blood borders. Whereas I am writing this on your day of atonement and in the spirit of forgiveness, and now deliver it on the seventh night of your festival of lights. Therefore, let it be known that we have tried. Let it be known that we recognize one another from 1,000 miles. Let it be known that interventions are death to this language of loss. Let it be known that treaty, accord, agreement are currency for silence. Let it be known that protests aren't for sale. Let it be known that peace concerned with order is void and peace concerned with justice is rarely served, an empty side dish. Let it be known that we're human as you are, that you're human as we are, that we're not against each other, we're against the shield between us and apartheid more rigid than sieged walls. Let it be known that resolutions never get to the point, that by now hundreds are at the door calling for the speaking time I was never given to end. Thank you. You can give me snaps. I'm a young poet, as all of us are, especially tonight. Thank you. So as Melissa said, I am at the University of Michigan, starting, I should say, my MFA in creative writing. And it's been truly inspiring to be with other students from all parts of the world. And I recently submitted this sequence for my poetry workshop, which I believe might be my best writing yet. So let me know. And this is a sequence I've been meaning to write for a long time. It's on motherhood, childbearing, and the ethics of all of that. It's in 3 parts. So here's part 1, ethical parenting. And if the newborn breathing under heavy soil asks, for what reason was she killed? Water, milk, rice, sugar, flour, oil, condoms, donations sustaining refugee camps. It was decided a struggling family must not bring more struggle into the world. The rest can resume praying to be blessed. Anything becomes resistance if no longer a choice. One afternoon, my grandmother, the last to stay, locked the doors and followed to America. My uterus wrestles with responsibility. The history of our family in Syria and before that in Palestine has ended. If I can give life, I want to give it. During the war and after 2 years of unemployment, my father lost his to a heart attack. Medical history is the most fickle of all, so I watch my cholesterol levels. Adoption doesn't fulfill the exiled in me, but my mother is American enough for both of us. She works 2 jobs and has only once taken more than a day off, the day of her hysterectomy. Part 2. No wonder Mary was a Palestinian. If I can give life, I want to give it. The chance of your birth was 1 to 400 trillion. I made it happen. Call me selfish. Circumstances have always been bad. Besides, 2 producing 1 is net loss. This is the closest we've come against mortality. We can't afford to, my mother's American nurse said, on her finger a diamond wedding band. In drug capsules, Palestinian men smuggle sperm. In gum wrappers, in crumbled newspapers, warm, even the possibility of life lives only minutes behind bars. Liberation liquid liberation under tongues. Friends carry the offspring of friends. Prison guard helmets hide hickeys and bulletproof vests unbuckle to make love. National seeds of resistance and hope. The president named these children. Occupation makes a poet out of anyone. We couldn't save the land, at least we do bloodlines. In underground clinics, women weep at the miracle, virgin and pregnant. Imagine being free and choosing not to. Part 3, survival instinct. Under tongues, friends carry the offspring of friends. Gossip is good news. Someone lived long enough to ask. Good things seized don't require visa stamps. My grandmother's sister sold her bridal gold and fridge for a seat. 45 backs bent to a boat made for 20. Death is death, and in God we trust, but not all the way. At 65, she walked across Europe on foot. If fate meets us wherever we are, let it do so 3,000 miles from here, immigration papers in hand. During the Prophet's time, an Arab man escaped to India after seeing the angel of death in his room. Turns out God wanted the man's soul plucked from exile. News of a lifeless 3-year-old boy by the Turkish shore went viral, but no one asked about his mother, also turned heavenly by drowning. On the same boat, or one just like it, a woman had a feeling she won't make it. She handed her toddler to the teenage girl next to her. Save your epidurals. Most of us are carrying unexpected turns. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Amazing. That series is so powerful. Next up is Anu Yadav. And Anu also returns this year to be with us. And she's a critically acclaimed actress, playwright, educator, and cultural worker dedicated to art and social justice. She's a member of the Actors Equity Association, the Center for Performance and Civic Practice, Alternate Roots, Network of Ensemble Theaters, and the Poor People's Campaign, which is a national call for moral revival. Is a 2021-2022 University of Southern California Annenberg Innovation Lab Civic Media Fellow. Welcome, Anu.
It's a pleasure to be here. I have also been, one of the things I didn't put on my bio is that I've been in and out of poverty my whole life. And I'll be sharing 2 excerpts from a solo play, Capers, that I wrote and performed, directed and developed by Patrick Crowley, and based on the housing struggle of friends and residents of Arthur Caper Carrollsburg, a group of public housing families representing 400 other families and others who protested the forced relocation of this community. It was funded by Hope 6, which is a federal grant program in the United States from about the late 90s till the early 2000s that was used to demolish public housing nationwide and build mixed income neighborhoods. And many organized against this for the housing rights of people to not be displaced. And this organizing was also featured in the documentary, which you can view online, Chocolate City by Ellie Walton and Sam Wild. I'm going to share 2 short pieces, mostly from an interview with one of the residents, Deborah Frazier, a dear friend of mine who passed away suddenly this fall. Deborah would be pleased I'm sharing her words at an event dedicated to the liberation and human rights of Palestinian people. And this is the first monologue. I used to live in the world, and now I live in Harlem. Ntsakishanges for colored girls who've considered suicide when the rainbow isn't enough, my favorite play. And I like to say, I used to live in the world, and now I live in public housing. I used to live in the world, and now I live in public housing, and my vision of myself and my connectedness has shrunk. Grace of God, what keeps me alive, what gives me a reason is the fight for this community. It is the fight for Hope 6, Hopeless 6. It's the fight to make sure that my 4 little rooms, my 4 fucking little rooms of public housing are protected. That until I decide what the hell I want to do, my children and I have some place to stay. So that defines for me why I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to Xerox copies and I'm going to knock on people's doors and say, you got a right to stay. You got a right to move. You have these rights and responsibilities. And, you know, if these 400 low-income people, you know, most of whom I can't stand, you know, most of the people, this neighborhood, I get up, I can stand, you know, but struggling for folks and defining their rights, I'm going to do that because I got to fight for me, right? And to fight, to hold on to the little piece that I have defines for me where I am right now. And so much of my town has changed because there's not this consideration for working people. And I am a native Washingtonian, born and raised. I saw what was happening across the bridge and I thought to myself, oh, how sad. And then when it started to happen here for me, I thought, fuck no. Not here. Not me, not now, not never. The goddamn motherfucking buck is not passing here, not at this time. Not now. I'm going to take you now to the end of the play. And so now on paper, we have guaranteed one-to-one replacement of all low-income units. Now, Mr. Kelly, director of the Housing Authority, will tell you they always had that, but we, friends and residents of Arthur Caper Carrollsburg, we called them on their definition of low income, which was folks making up to $60,000 a year. Now, I'm sorry, any of y'all call that low income? You could raise your hand right now. Thank you. You know, so average income in the neighborhood is $8,000, right? So, you know, we are knocking that criteria down. We got it down to 30,000. We are on them like white on rice. You know, that is a hurdle we are crossing. And our thing now is, where are people moving to? You know, who is keeping track? What information are they getting? And in the third phase of relocation, I went down to the relocation office, and they don't even have a blueprint of what the new community is going to look like. And I just wanted to say to that woman, okay, part of your mandate, relocation, is to put me somewhere, keep up with me, make sure I can come back if I want to, and you don't even give a shit what it looks like. You don't even give a shit whether or not I come back. Because guess what? You got a house in Maryland or Virginia. You got a good job. You don't got shit to worry about. I'm not a heartfelt cause to you. I am a piece of paper that you shift on your desk, and oh, I got thrown out, and so what? Because you did your job that day. You get your paycheck, and you get to get in your motherfucking car and drive home. It is my life. These are our lives, all 400 families here, and I'm going to tell you something. You better listen to me. We are getting organized. Okay, we are building power. And we are building power all the way from here to Palestine, and we are getting in step, and this is our home. And we are coming back. You can count on that. Thank you.
Woo. Wow. So powerful. I hope you're getting to see the love in the chat, Anu. When I watched that video, I was like, Anu, you have to do this, because this is what's going on in Silwan, in Sheikh Jarrah. People being out, evicted from their homes. It was like, this is what's going on right now. It's not a far leap for us to see how those people who are organizing in Jerusalem right now are doing this fight, the same fight. We need to do everything we can to support them. Thank you for that piece. Thank you for the power that you brought here. Ooh. So I'm going to give us a breath and just say that there is an amazing artist letter to support the 6 organizations that the Israeli government deemed terrorists, all civic organizations, human rights organizations. And if you are an artist, and you can define your artistry as however you like, I am going to ask one of my colleagues to put that link in the chat. And if they can't do it right now, it'll show up and ask you to sign that letter, and then and then I ask you to share it with other artists. And so now we have taken a breath, and I have great pleasure of inviting back also Erik Andrade, who is also a returning artist. Erik has been showing up for Palestine with JVP for the past 5 years. And he is a Cape Verdean and Irish American father, poet, fashion designer, social and environmental justice program manager, leadership development and social justice trainer, community activist, national organizer, radio host, videographer, graphic designer, computer scientist, and founding member of La Soul Renaissance. As a spoken word poet, Erik has presented in Cuba, Canada, Cabo Verde, and throughout the United States. He was a national organizer and featured performer at Hip Hop for Flint Water Filter giveaway in Flint, Michigan. The Minnewaukee Universal Benefit Concert in Standing Rock, Indigenous People Movement Conference in Houston, and Revolutionary Healing in Atlanta. Erik was awarded the Trailblazer Award by the New Bedford NAACP in 2017 for his environmental and social justice activism. He was also a 2016 and 2014 nominee for the South Coast Emerging Leader Award. He was awarded the 2012 South Coast Music Awards Poet of the Year. Erik was awarded the 2001 Frederick Douglass Unity House Outstanding Leadership Award for his tireless advocacy for social justice, and 2018 Frederick Douglass Unity House Alumni Award. And I am so pleased that he's back with us. Erik.
Thank you for having me here. This has been already like very, very, very feeling. Sometimes it's not what we think, it's what we feel and how we make people feel. And the opening is open. They say hurt people, hurt people. A friend of mine, Erik, told me hurt people, heal people, heal people, and open people, open people. And one thing I wanted to share before reading was the first time I wrote a poem about the situation was in 2002. It was my first poetry book, and it happened because at a poetry event we organized in New Bedford, a young man from Palestine came and he spoke at the end about his experience. He sat there quiet the entire time. I can't remember the young man's name, but he shared with us his life and his experience and opened up about what was going on. And poetry and art and his openness opened up exploration into what was going on. And this is what the importance of art is, to connect and to do these things, to carry stories further. And I'm just gonna read a piece I wrote last in 2020. Tripping over tears, tongues tied by fears of falling forward downstairs of depression. It's hard to hear. What's the lesson? When state-sanctioned aggression from military tanks in the Gaza banks continue and never lessen, as the US invests billions in Israeli aggression that kills children with weapons that threaten Palestinian life, liberty, and will to live. See, the hope they kill can give chills through the soul. Seeing pictures, buildings filled with holes as bullets, bulldozers roll through Palestinian homes, yet the resistance still throws poems and stones like Abdul al-Rahim Mahmoud, move to melancholy, the folly of fools who choose to ignore rules. See, the bride is beautiful and married to another man, yet for the love of land, they would kill their Arab brother and carry out the scam of the Balfour plan. So I too shall carry my soul on the palm of my hand and toss it into the pits of death, either a life that pleases a friend or a death that enraged the enemy. See, I can no longer pretend that we are not a major part of the problem there. So I too shall play my part, tossing my eye at the dark heart of Zion, giving no pardon for 72 years of lying, sovereignty denying, and the US supplying a modern day trail of tears. Manifest destiny where it's hard to swallow the pain, hearing Asim, Abwa, Hashir, Shir, that living the entirety of Israel's history within touching distance of his home has killed him 100 times a day. But it's also kept alive his hope that he will one day return. And in turn, I yearn for the day as I pray to compose a prose that holds the sorrow of 72 years times 365 days of prayers for tomorrow. Yet instead I borrow from what poet Ibrahim Tokan said, my homeland, the youth will not tire. Their goal is your independence, or they die, or they die. We will drink from death and we will not be to our enemies like slaves. Like slaves, we do not want an eternal humiliation, nor a miserable life. An eternal humiliation, nor a miserable life we do not want, but we will bring back our storied glory. Our storied glory, my homeland, my homeland, my homeland, my homeland, the sword in the pen, not the talk nor the quarrel, are our symbols of glory. Our covenant and a faithful duty moves us, our glory. Our glory is an honorable cause, a waving flag, an honorable cause, a waving flag. Oh, behold, you in eminence, victorious over your enemies, my homeland for Palestine.
Thank you, Erik. Wow. Thank you for those words and for reaching back to 20 years ago when you were first touched so deeply. Thank you. In it for a long time. And here is the artist's letter in solidarity with the 6 Palestinian human rights organizations facing repression and criminalization. Erik, I hope you're also seeing the love in the chat. Erik always links up all the struggles that he's representing and fighting for with Palestine. I'm very happy to present Rosza Danielle Lang Levitsky. Rosza is a cultural worker and organizer, 3rd generation radical, 2nd generation queer, never figured out how to make art for art's sake, rarely wants to work alone. Just another gender trace, diasporist, Mischling femme who identifies with, not as. Some current projects: abolition feminist organizing with Survived and Punished New York, making New York City's radical Purimspiel with the Spectacle Committee. And let me say that these people put out amazing spiels. singing with Koit Dein Fadek. And I'm going to put those links in the chat for you. And Solo co-editing a collection of contemporary Yiddish songs. Right before Hanukkah, Rosa produced an amazing evening of Yiddish literature, performance, bringing in and making me aware of a super vibrant Yiddish culture that is happening with people from really all over the world. So Rosa ends with, and always writing, performing, teaching, learning, and more. Welcome, Rosa.
Thanks so much, Melissa. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be here with the rest of these amazing artists and cultural workers. And I should say, I emceed the other salon, which was a benefit for Stop Line 3 organizing. I wasn't one of the folks who put it on, though one of them is here today, Deb, who's somewhere on your screen. So what I have, what I'm going to share tonight is 2 short songs and a poem. I'm going to be singing and reading Yiddish and Yiddish, and I just dropped in the chat a link for that to translations and transliteration that also says a little bit more about each of the pieces. So the first song is from a poem written in the 50s after the Israeli military's massacre in a village called Kibbia, that was written by Yankov Glatstein, great Yiddish modernist poet. One of my bandmates in Koit Dein Fadek brought the poem to us when it was rediscovered a couple of years ago, and I went out to find a melody for it and found one in a end of Shabbos Malave Malka melody from the Mojitz Hasidic world. So that's the first thing. Kas, Nakoma, Roich. A kleine Machne mit Retzeke in die Augen und gegürzt mit Pfeil und Beugen. In Nachteken Fahrrad haben meine Brüder Rachmunis in sich abgeschmarrt und Possel gemacht ein paar Met von mein Leben. Gott meine von geduldigen Besmedrash, schwer als eine finstere Heldigkeit zu vergeben. Mein Volk, von Rachmanis, jeden von mein ganz Leben, ich will dich nicht da wegschenken, für die größte Arsenalen von Gwore. Volk von meinen guten Taten, na fremder polnischer Herd, wie viel hast du mit mir eingeknallt Gutskeit, von mein Chedejonan, stolz meine Reuster Welter, vergoleste Festkeit. Befrei sich nicht von meiner gerechte Dalet Ames, geh nicht da weg in Weltgefangenschaft mit blutige Ketten auf die Hände. Befrei sich nicht von meiner gerechte Dalet Ames, geh nicht da weg in Weltgefangenschaft mit blutige Ketten auf die Hände. And I should have said by way of description, I'm a skinny, pale-skinned person with long, wavy, curly, graying brown hair, cat-eye glasses, and a whole lot of necklaces, wearing a pin with a black flag with a circle aleph on it. So the next song is a Yiddish revolutionary classic called Huliet Huliet Beze Winten, rage, rampage, angry winds, that's been sung both as a song about the hard times that we live through and a song about the hope for the end of the metaphorical winter and the coming of the spring of uprising. It became popular during the 1905 Russian Revolution and sung all over the world. Juliet, Juliet, böse Winden, frei beherrscht die Welt, brecht die Zweigen, warf die Bämer, tut, was euch gefällt. Brecht die Zweigen von die Bämer, tut, was euch gefällt. Treibt die Vögel von die Felder und verjagt sie fort. Die, was kennen, weit nicht fliehen, tät sie auf den Ort. Die, was kennen, weit nicht fliehen, tät sie auf den Ort. Reißt die Lodden von die Häslich, Scheiben brecht Reus. Brennt der Lichtel, geht's dunkel, lässt mit Sachen Neus. Brennt der Lichtel, geht's dunkel, lässt mit Zorn Neus. Juliet, Juliet, böse Winden, it's desire Zeit. Lang wird teuer in die Winter, Sommer ist noch weit. Lang wird teuer nicht die Winter, Sommer ist nicht weit. Lang wird teuer nicht die Winter, Sommer ist nicht weit. Sommer ist nicht weit. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
The third piece I'm going to share is a poem that I just encountered recently that was written in 1929 by Aaron Kurtz, a Yiddish poet in New York, in solidarity with the anti-colonial uprising in Palestine that year. The response to the uprising really divided the Yiddish-speaking socialist world, and Kurtz was one of the voices for uncompromising solidarity. I don't think that it's a great poem. I think it's an important poem, and I think it's one that's worth us knowing about as we do our work across borders, across languages. So, die Wand, the wall. Die Wand, zerkrischelt und verschimmelt. Die teute Ziehenwand, verhelligt und verhimmelt. Die Wand von Wisten, mitbedicken Gläuben. Ein Netz für starbendicke Gläuber, a Qual für die, was räuben. Mein Seide ist schon teut, und es schließen sich die Wegen von meinen Taten. Der Sohn muss aufreisen die Wand auf den Stäub. Es kann der Sohn sich nicht verraten. Die Wand ist nicht von Stein, nicht von Granit. Jahrhundertel umsiste Blut hat lang verwischt dem Steiner dicke Kolorit. Jetzt ist nur die Wand zwischen Mensch und Mensch, ein messerdicke Granit. Die räuberische Führer von Britannien formen von jedem Tropfen Blut einen goldenen Penitz. und Zionisten mit Mogen David heiligen die blutige Alchemie mit Sakrament und Tfilis. Und die, was kommen, suchen Arbeit, Bräut und Freiheit, kriegen zatzgedig geschriebene Megillas. Die, was kommen, suchen Bräut, werden bloßer Rahm für britisch ziehendig in Räub. Sie werden nur ein blutig, keteldicke Zahm rund dem stehnigen Käub von räuberschen Vermägen. Das Volk muss nehmen in die Hände die scharfe Sägen von dem feierdicken Dor und bringen sich allein das lange Garte vor, zu sägen und zu spalten, zu mollen bis zu Stäub, dem Willen von britannischen Pirat, in einem mit den Liegen von dem zionistischen Maschiach zermalt bis zu Stäub, die teute Jesuitenwand, was ist ein messerdicker Granit zwischen Mensch und Mensch. He talks, just to translate the last line, about the knife-like border between one person and another, the messerdiche granites. So Idan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosa. That was so beautiful. And I really recommend to everyone that you open the link that Rosa shared, because Rosa has done this amazing job of the Yiddish, the transliteration, and the translation. And it'll be a second chance to enjoy all that she's shared with us. So now I have the pleasure of welcoming Zahra Belyea. Sara is also a friend who I've had the opportunity to work with in various spaces, and it's so great to have her here with us. She holds a BA in English from Boston University, a Master's of Education in Secondary Curriculum and Instruction from Boston College, and a Master's in Theater Education from Emerson College. She has taught and tutored in both writing and literature, and currently she is a Writing Center director. The teaching artist, movement performer, and playwright, she has worked with or for numerous venues, artists, art institutions, and theater companies such as Company One in Boston, Arts Emerson, On with Living and Learning, also known as OWL, Danza Organica's We Create Festival, the Billie Holiday Theater, and Still We Rise Productions, for which she is a co-director. Sara is learning to find her footing and her confidence the more she leans towards God and away from her worries and fears. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you, Melissa. So I'm going to share a video, and then I'm going to talk about the video, and then I'm going to end with a short piece. So please bear with me.
How do we rise? From this pain, from this isolation, mirrored suffering ancestors' tears leak from eyes and turn to blood and tear gas and fear. New age water hoses tear into the flesh of my rights. What has changed? MAGA, menace, animosity, grief, and atrocity. How many more have to die to appease the gods of bigotry? Am I alone in this sorrow? Separation and sickness of soul, how do we rise? I extend myself to educate, to reach, inspire, and teach. But the halls are empty. fluid red lights blaze in my nightmares. Will this not be the moment I scream, let me be? I am not a monster, nor animal, nor beast. A symbol of protection is the story of death on my street. I cannot breathe. Pray with me, for me, uplift me and feed me hope in the dark. There must be more than this. Agony and oppression, here is the lesson. The United States of us can no longer be silent at the auction of our humanity. You must be more. Open your eyes to the realities of this life. Not father or mother, nor husband or wife, but the co-worker and friend reaching out for an end to this acceptance of the world as it is. You cannot stand at the tree and say, I don't see, when the shadow you use to escape the sun are my limbs, swinging in the cold breeze. How do we rise? With joined hands and shared scars, with honor and bravery and sadness and faith, with contentment and courage and control of our fate, to silence the hate. Bystander behavior is the flavor of this nation's favorite dish. The mastication of the proclamation leaves our mouths dry with anticipation for something better. I am thirsty for life without altercation or explanation for why I deserve to live, to thrive, to be 90% of 12 for 400 years. I die and am born, and our names do not change. Boy, not sir, gal, not doctor. What are we truly after? How do we rise? With voices and calm actions, with peaceful protest and civil reactions, we deserve the right to be. Together, we will stand free.
Yeah. So Melissa asked me to talk a bit about the development of the piece, and so I'm just going to talk really quickly about that. So this piece was actually developed by choreographers A.V. Hernandez, Sherry Bridgman, who's the other dancer in the piece, and myself as a living sculpture for a pre-show dramaturgy of Ingrid Ostland's Women Writers Suicide Club. Ingrid actually filmed the piece to run on the nights that either Sherry and I couldn't be there. Otherwise, Sherry and I were part of this piece. We were just doing it on loop 2 or 3 times for 2 of the 3 nights. And then under that movement was actually a song about the heartache of losing someone. And so there were these 2 women basically dealing with similar pain. They were mirroring each other, but they couldn't see each other. And then this piece became the first section of a longer piece for the most recent We Create festival in Boston that was sponsored by Danzo Ganica. For this piece, we collaborate with the brilliant writer Alia Crowley, and those are the words you heard underneath. I know it's very low, but the transcription is there, so you should please read the poem. It's gorgeous. She's actually also a wife and a 22-year veteran of the armed forces. And under the direction of Chris Crowley, who did the brilliant editing for this piece and also for the piece for the festival, and then Robert Bridgman, who also was a part of that other piece, it was transformed to meet the theme for that festival, which is embodying liberation. And so as Black women and also as Christians, Alia and Sherry and I recognize that no policy or law or movement or societal reprimanding would change the hearts of people. So that happens, we realize, one person at a time, small group at a time, community at a time. And as for us, we realized that what our ancestors did long ago, which was to find true freedom for at least us, would never be found in the will of man. So we're Christians, so our hopes are assured and our assurances are in our faith and in God, because we see him as someone who kind of leaps into the pit with us and walks with us through the pain and walks with us through the darkness of oppression and the dehumanization that happens to all people across the BIPOC community. Alia actually made this connection too, because she said, although we are not in the dealing directly with the pain and the struggle of the Palestinian struggle, we find a brotherhood and a sisterhood in arms, because we understand what it is to live in a society that sees you as less than or unimportant. So our worth can never come from out there, but only in how we choose to see ourselves, and remind each other of how beautiful we all are, and allow ourselves to sort of lean for us again, just on our faith and God, in a way that we can find peace and sanity that we're not going to find out there in society. So I have one short piece I wanted to read, and in this piece, it's about a woman named Penelope, who has entered a stage in her life where she is taking the first steps towards who she's meant to be without needing permission to live or feeling ashamed about who she is. So this piece is called Walking Towards the Light. Walking toward the light of the moon, Penelope felt finally herself again. It had been so long that she had felt this way, and in the events of the last few years, she thought she might never return to who she was proud to be. Her papa, Lucian, had told her when she was a small child that people wouldn't understand. Humans were animals, just like the rest of the animal kingdom, but what made them different is they had free will to be better, but too often chose the worst of themselves among each other. The brutality and hatred appeared to work the earth, devouring everyone in its wake, but that's not the whole story. Papa had emphasized appeared. That word appeared or seemed was the key to his lesson. When we look at each other or judge each other or create the very monsters we fear, we lose sight of the light. We lose sight of hope. We lose sight of the love that an ancient teacher claimed covers over a multitude of sins. This was the kind of love that Papa had taught me. His unconditional love for me and my sisters and brothers covered over the hole left by our mama's passing. Almost. Of course, nothing could completely fill that hole, but Papa's love was overwhelming with its quiet strength and encouragement and power. Do you hear that? Those are my brothers and sisters taking their places in the world. And now it's my turn to step into the light of my mother moon and begin the becoming of myself. Slowly, Penelope transforms into a werewolf. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Amazing, that ending always blows me away. And thank you for bringing that message from your sisters who created that piece, which was just so rich. Besides bringing, as Rosa said, thank you for bringing the movement into the space, movement into our artistry, the words and the sentiment, and remembering that in Palestine there are Palestinians who are Muslims, who are Christians, and there were lots of Palestinian Jews also. So I'm happy to have that voice here. Next is Sariyah Idan, whose music you heard at the very beginning. She is a New York-bred, independent, and internationally touring singer-songwriter, music producer, poet, dancer, and theater artist. She believes in the power of personal story and interdisciplinary performance to transform individuals, communities, and societies. As a singer-songwriter and music director, she has rocked iconic venues like the Kennedy Center in DC, the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles, New Yorkian Poets Cafe in New York City, and Neues Fabrik in Berlin. In 2019, she was a Virginia Giordano Memorial Fund honoree for performances of her album Breaking Shadows. Hope you'll all find that on your favorite place to find music. Recorded in Los Angeles, Berlin, and Lisbon. As a music artist, she's jazz and folk trained, hip-hop educated, and influenced by both Latinx, Caribbean sounds, and her Jewish roots. Praised for her ability to seamlessly combine a wide variety of disparate styles and sonics into a memorable sound all her own. She views honoring the sounds of both influences and ancestors as a form of cultural activism. Her music has been featured on Pacifica and NPR stations, in addition to college radio and online radio platforms. Recognized for her solo documentary theater show, Homeless in Homeland, about Jewish identity and the occupation of Palestine, she was given an Outstanding Achievement Award by the Los Angeles Women's Theater Festival and was a highlighted act at the Britain Fringe Festival in England and the One Festival in New York City. And I am delighted to welcome live, sorry, take it away.
Thank you so much, y'all. It's really great to be here. I'm gonna turn off my reverb for just a moment. It's lovely to be in the company of so many talented artists committed to interdisciplinary work and to justice for Palestine. I felt very alone for a long time, especially when I was touring my solo theater show. I'm gonna just drop in the chat if people wanna check out access to that. There's some, the links didn't really hyperlink, but I wanna give you guys those details. But it's such an honor to be in such good company. So thank you, Melissa, for having me. Thank you, JVP, for being, can we just all unmute for a moment and give some applause for everyone here, for JVP, for continuing to do this really important work. Yeah, you can make a lot of sounds. There we go. Thank you, Melissa. You brought us all together for this 7th night of Hanukkah. So I'm gonna rock 2 pieces for you. One of them is acoustic, and it's not recorded acoustic, but you're getting an acoustic version. And then the second piece, I'll leave us on a higher note about shining. But this song is it's a song I wrote the last time I was in Israel and Palestine visiting family. My solo theater show is based on a different trip when I first went over there and was doing activism work. But this is my letter of both disdain and love for Zionism. The love is very toxic. Love. But what I'm gonna just play it for you. This is called Why You Do. And this is on my EP called Deeper Than Skin. Can y'all hear that guitar? Yeah. Even when blessed with circumstances of success, we cling on tight to the mentality of oppressed. So we stress, we fear, we hate, regress, then forget how to share love outside our own nest. Betrayal is a voice that sings sweet to you when you're alone and desperate. Tells you to do things you know you shouldn't do. Convinces you your morals are flexible, so you can do what you do, what you do, what you do, why you do what you do, what you do. Yeah, why you do what you do, what you do. But don't you wanna know whose bones lie beneath your feet? Don't you wanna know whose breath you're taking? Do you convince yourself you're right? Because think you're faking? Why you do what you do, what you do, what you do? Why you do what you do, what you do? Yeah. Nine, 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 nine. You spin a history, reroute it. Rewrite the book that you defend. You know your authenticity is doubted. How do you think our days will end if you keep on with what you do, what you do, what you do, what you do? Why you do what you do, what you do? Yeah. But I will not join your war. What is all the fighting for? All I'll fight for is love. Have you ever felt the softness of its glove on the tenderness of your throat? Felt the sweetness of its notes? If you had, you wouldn't do what you do, what you do, what you do. Yeah, why you do? Nine, 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 nine. I believe your dreams were true, yeah, and for clutching them I don't hate you. If I could, I would give you another try. Just don't hide. Why? You do what you do. In my name you justify, you steal and kill, but this has never been my will. Persecution gives way to fear, but even still I cannot swallow the false truths that you distill. No, only when we love strangers as our brothers there'll be time to build another sweet land of promise. That part of Torah you missed. So refrain using my name for your gain. Your greed is a shame that must be tamed, a beast that must be slain. It is you drive insane. Yeah, it is you drive insane. But I will not join your war. What is all the fighting for? All I'll fight for is love. Have you ever felt the softness of its glove on the tenderness of your throat? Felt the sweetness of its note? If you had, you wouldn't do what you do, what you do, what you do. Oh, if you had, you wouldn't do what you do, what you do, what you do. Does betrayal talk to you and tell you to do what you do? Why you do what you do, what you do, what you do? Why you do what you do, what you do? Why you do what you do, what you do? Why you do what you do, what you do? Why you do what you do, what you do? Why you do? Oh, thank you, Rami. Thank you so much. That's called "Why You Do," and I'm gonna close this out with a song called "Shine" from my Breaking Shadows album. And I just want to give this to all of us. Sometimes when we focus on doing justice work in the world, we can get kind of shot down and gaslit by the gatekeepers and by people who are committed to upholding systems of injustice. And I just want to offer to all of us that we are worthy of love. The work that we do is important, and it is important to to shine the love and the justice that burns in our hearts. So, you know, this is a battle cry for the peace seekers and the justice makers, for y'all. You swallowed the divide and conquer, serving a digitized master, chasing after numbers. What truth do they tell? You isolate, rip apart imperfections, stare down society's reflections. Bloody past, bloody present, but your own health you've gone neglecting. Power always placed outside, amassing wealth for consumer pride. Your fortress piled high with useless things once made you smile. You're warring with yourself on best actions to move cultural wealth out hands of greed's manipulation. But with your sisters engage competition. You can't dispel dark feeling unworthy of love. No, you can't dispel dark feeling unworthy of love. So rise up, star, to some you're a sun. Yeah, rise up, star, to some you're a sun, and shine. Oh, shine. And shine like the morning star into evening, like the midday sun reflecting, like the morning star into evening, like the midday sun. No, you can't dispel dark feeling unworthy of love. No, you can't dispel dark feeling unworthy of love. So rise up, star, to some you're a sun. Yeah, rise up, star, to some you're a sun. No, you can't dispel dark feeling unworthy of love. No, you can't dispel dark feeling unworthy of love. So rise up, star, to some you're a sun. Yeah, rise up, star, to some you're a sun, and shine. Oh, shine. Shine like the morning star into evening, like the midday sun reflecting, like the morning star into evening, like the midday sun, like the morning star into evening, like the midday sun reflecting, like the morning star into evening, like the midday sun, and shine.
Woo!
Thank you so much.
Thank
Give it up for yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know we're almost at time, or we are at time, but this event is giving voice to Palestine. We are here for Palestine. And so it's only fitting that we open and close with Sarah's words. Take it away, Sarah. Take us home.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. And Sariyah, I have to say, this is the coolest concert I've ever been to, although a short version of it. And I never knew revolutionary songs could be so sexy. Oh my God, this is so cool. So I'll be thinking about that. Here is a poem I return to quite often, especially since Jerusalem is at the forefront of what's happening in Palestine, especially Sheikh Jarrah. And this poem I wrote speaking to an incident that happened last year, around the same time that George Floyd was murdered. So I'll let you make the connection for yourself. At the checkpoint, an autistic man in Jerusalem is killed before making his condition known. He rarely spoke, the headline said, and was understood only by his mother. 2 shots in the chest and a burgundy velvet dress turned thick blood clots on a bride's back down the street, smelled like copper, like the burned tongue of a landline wire 2 teenage lovers can't ever use again. At the checkpoint, an autistic man in Jerusalem is killed and black smoke choked those at the scene before it even happened. The old city is an asphalt pavement with an arched back to heaven where men go after they're gone. At the checkpoint, an autistic man in Jerusalem is killed, and silence is a culprit in death, but sound is how the heart hiccups when first hearing the news and keeps breathing so long as it is allowed. Thank you all, and may it be in Palestine next year.
Inshallah. Amen. Thank you so much, Sarah, Erik, Anu, Sariyah, Zahra, Ali for lighting the candles, Rosa, thank you. Like I said, everybody, thank you, Emily, for being tech for us. Thank you, Esther, for doing fabulous captioning like you always do. And thank you all. Why doesn't everybody just come into view? Come, turn your cameras on. Let's see who's here. And you can unmute. Very, very, very grateful for such beautiful work and such commitment. Tomorrow night, we have an amazing, let's see if I can get that in the chat. There it is. There's the link for the Day al-Debit is the name of an Iraqi meal, and it's the deconstructing the political history of an Iraqi Jewish meal. This is an Iraqi meal that was hijacked and made into Israeli street food. And the 2 groups that are presenting this along with JVP is the Awasi Kitchen, who is run by Annabelle Rabia, an Iraqi Jewish woman, and her brother runs Rawi, which is Radius of Arab American Writers. And so this is a really great collaboration that we're very excited about, and that's on tomorrow night. And Monday night, there's a very big party that's New York City JVP is putting on. And you can also go to, for all these links, go back to jvp.org/Hanukkah. And yeah, there you go. Thank you. And next year, bring your friends. Next year, inshallah, ojalá, I'm hoping we don't have to have this. We can just have a plain old Hanukkah party, but and bring your fried food, you know. But whatever, while we have to, we'll be here. And thank you all for joining us. And I'm going to hang out for a little bit. The music can Sariyah, if you want to keep blessing us with your music, we're really happy for it. People want to hang out a little bit, I'm here.
Thank you, Melissa,
Yeah.
for getting us all here.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
You. Yeah. Rami, I love that you're showing up at our event. Yay.
Hello from Vancouver.
Yes, wonderful. Awesome. And Beth, you have shown up also. Ruby, we mentioned the Yiddish event that you were part of the other night. I think Deborah has left already. Saw that they were here. And I don't know who this is in the telephone number below. Thank you, Erik.
All right. Thank you all and good night, wherever you are.
Thank you, Sarah. Love. Hey.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so
Yay.
much. It's a beautiful night.
To be with everyone, thank you so much
Yeah.
for your offerings.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, and you got
Thanks,
your little one.
Melissa. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, tech people. Thanks, performers. Beautiful.
Yeah. I know you like really slayed us. So
Thanks,
powerful.
Melissa, for the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm glad I like combed through your videos. I was like,
I know, I was
what? This
kind
is
of I'm
incredible.
hiding there a little bit, I guess.